All steps
Let's go.
Okay, my darlings, welcome to the UnFuckIt discussion. What can I say? Everything is really, 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 really crazy. Hold on, I'm gonna go run through and mute everyone now because we've got everyone unmuted. Everything's gone completely crazy. Everything's gone completely crazy, and there's almost no words for it right now. There's almost no way of comprehending what's going on around the planet. We had a really great part that I heard was a great conversation Sunday night, and my internet was so shockingly bad that I basically had to go now to doing afternoon shows here in England because every evening our internet just completely fucking dies. And I don't know if it's because lots of people who are on just all of a sudden flooding the network in the evening. It was never like this 2 weeks ago. Now, like literally every evening by 8 o'clock at night, we have almost no internet. So we're going to talk about some of this tonight. I want to talk about a little bit about what is going on globally. Now, if you don't know this, I am putting out every single day. I've been putting out a conspicuous news article with updates, updating everyone as to what is on national levels, smaller levels, the shutdowns, the lockouts, the border closures, what's going on, just basically financially, like just really basic financial major updates, health major updates, etc. So I've been putting out an article every single day for, I guess, a week now. That will give you all the up-to-dates of exactly what has happened overnight and what is going on from country to country. We've basically seen pretty close to half the world is in lockdown. Borders closed, etc. This week alone, Egypt, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Sudan, Somalia, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Morocco, a whole pile of the EU, have locked their borders. No one's allowed in or out. Or within reason, there are some countries that have completely locked borders. I believe Nepal, I want to say it was Nepal, has completely locked its border. There is no going, even if you're Nepalese, you can't get into the country right now. And this is just it, okay? Because we're going to go back to this, and I want to talk about this, okay? Because the pandemic, okay? For example, Allison just brought it up in chat. India has only just they're over a little over 600 cases, only 10 or 12 deaths. They have locked the country down. They've gone on strict quarantine. No one's allowed to leave their house. They've closed the borders. No one's allowed in or out, etc., etc. So we've got this situation where all of a sudden we have literally the entire world being locked down. Now, there are two sides to this. There are the two sides to this. We're looking at the fact of as a pandemic. The flip sides are, of course, is it actually a pandemic? Is it actually dangerous? Is it actually doing all these terrible things that they say it is doing? Versus, it's not a pandemic. It's not doing all the shit that they're saying it's doing. It's not going to be what it is. And, of course, this is all an act. This is all they're putting people, they're closing the borders, they're keeping people inside for reasons other than medical health reasons. Now, I always go to the people that I can go to with the boots on the ground. When it came to the whole thing back in January and early February, and everyone was talking about Wuhan being locked down and China being, locked down, etc. I spoke to multiple people who were in China who are all saying the same thing, saying, yeah, we're bored because we're stuck in our house. But things aren't bad. There's groceries. Things are fine. Everything seems to be being handled very, very well. No one, and like I said, I talked to about 10 people who were in China at the time, all over China. No one really had anything to say negative other than that we can't get masks anymore, the little surgical masks, and we're fucking bored, and we're kind of miserable being stuck in the house, and the kids are really, really bored. That was all we heard from the people who were boots on the ground. And like I said, when we are talking about these situations, the best information you can get is from someone you know who is boots on the ground. Not a video off of YouTube, not something an alt media channel is putting out. We need to go to boots on the ground. Now, when it talks about the virus itself, okay, Anne Callahan has been in contact with homeopaths all over the world, people who are in the thick of it, right back in early February, who were in Hong Kong, who were in Japan, who were in places like this where it was happening right then. And the reports that were coming out were that it was very treatable with homeopathics. It wasn't as bad as everyone was making it out to be. And the people who had the hardest time, and the vast majority of deaths, were people who were old and or who had an immunocompromised system, who were already in very fragile state of health. Now, since then, of course, then we had, at the beginning of March, we had this shit with Italy. Now, end of February, into March, we had Italy, and it just blew up all in Italy. Italy has totally, fully said coronavirus cases are, the mortality rate is about 2%. And everyone who has died, was very old or in very fragile health. England just came out and said earlier this week, same thing. The only people who have died in England are people who are extremely old and are fragile medically. They've got fragile health situations. They're immunocompromised. They already have, in many cases, cancer, etc., etc. Now, the other things to understand is, number one, they're not testing for COVID-19. All these people, it has been fully admitted, America, Canada, and England are not testing. They're basically saying, okay, you've got all the symptoms of COVID-19, therefore they're classifying it as COVID-19. And then if the person is, say, for example, brought into hospital because they've got pneumonia or something like that, here's the thing. Once they're diagnosed with COVID-19, no matter what they die from, it's listed as a COVID-19 death. In Italy, there were 2 people, this was back in the first week of Italy, there were 2 people who passed who had stage 4 cancer, who were already in the hospital dying, who were then marked as COVID-19, and when they passed, they were put on the COVID-19 death statistics, if you will. It has been fully admitted to the fact that anyone now who dies of anything, doesn't matter what you die of. If you are admitted and you have COVID-19 or test positive for coronavirus, however they test that, it is automatically then stated that that's what you died from, regardless of what the actual reason was. Now, we also have and good comment here. Okay, Andrew said some doctors and nurses in Italy have died in the last couple of days. How many of them are exhausted? And here's the other point I want to bring up, and this has to do with the numbers that we're now seeing. All of a sudden, the numbers we're now seeing showing that younger people are getting very, very ill from it, specifically in the States. The States is the most highly vaccinated population in the world. And what have they just been pushing for the last year? Adult immunizations. They have been pushing across the states that all of these teenagers, if you're going to university, you have to be fully immunized again. People who are adults, if you're having children, if you have children at home, you must be immunized again. You must all be immunized. The only place in the world that I know of that has pushed that adult vaccine push, and of course you also have the flu vaccine. Now all of a sudden in the States you have younger people getting COVID-19, purportedly. Again, purportedly, because they're not testing, purportedly getting COVID-19. How many of those people, will we ever see the statistics of how many of those people took a flu shot last year? Talking about doctors and nurses, we know that they get forced into the flu shots all the time. Right? Guys, I'm sorry about the volume. I have no idea what's going on with volume. I've had a few people say this to me in the last recording. My setup is the exact same setup it always is. My mic is literally right there. I don't. And now my mic is down. Stay still. Okay, so we have a lot of facts that we do not have access to, i.e., what was the health situation of these people who have passed, the people who are sick. We've just heard that there was a young child in the States who died. I think in Atlanta, Georgia, who died yesterday or the day before of COVID-19. We don't know because they never ever release the information that goes along with that, as in what was the overall health of that child before she caught this virus? Was she fully vaccinated? Was she just recently vaccinated, etc.? So these are some of the points we need to look at. These are some of the points we need to be able to discern, keep them in the front of our mind as we're reading statistics that are coming out. Let's look at what we know, though. We know that the quintessential they are closing down the world. Every country. Borders closed. Canada, locked down. Borders are closed. America's got borders closed. Like I said, all these countries have literally closed their borders. The interesting part is the lockdowns that are going inside the country. So here in England, well, they have not done an official, they've done some really good threats, etc., but they haven't actually, I think, really truly passed laws to say that you can't leave your house. It's basically very strongly worded, you will stay home. Someone posted something just this morning talking about taking a car ride, and they'd asked, like, basically called in or talked to one of these numbers that you can call for information, saying, I'm just going to go by myself in my car, I'm just going to go for a drive and come right back, and I won't even get out of the car. Is that allowable? And they were like, no. Okay, wait, why wouldn't someone be allowed to go for a drive in their car if they're by themselves? Why are they insisting that you have to be at home? We have several people from different, so Norway, Denmark, and I want to say the other one may have been Germany. I got messages from friends who they've been told they cannot leave the cities to go, for example, if they have a country home or they have a cottage. They can't go and do their 2 weeks isolation, their 2-3 weeks isolation quarantine at the cottage, at they're outside of the city home. Why? Now, the excuse given is, oh, well, because rural areas are not really set up, and if you get sick, we're going to inundate the rural area hospitals, and they won't have the medical facilities to be able to take care of it. Doesn't really wash, does it? it becomes very, very unbelievable. Certain aspects of it, you can kind of go, okay, I can kind of logic that one and go, okay, don't go to the pub with all your friends Friday night. Okay, kind of makes sense. You don't want to get in a crowd packed pub, closing down certain venues where crowds would be around, and you can kind of go, okay, it's a virus. Okay, I can kind of see that. But some of the other rules just make your brain go, that doesn't even make sense. Wait, that is not making sense. Now, in England, they're saying you can go for a walk. Go get your outdoor exercise once a day. You can go out once a day to go. Like, how are they even going to patrol that you've gone out once a day or twice a day or 10 times in a day, right? Unless, of course, your neighbors are telling on you. You can go out once a day, but you have to do it, like, only within your family group, and you can't meet up. So you can, like, go for a walk down the street, but you can't meet up with other friends along the way. There's other places where they won't even let you go for a walk. Quite literally, they will not even let you, you're not even allowed to go for a walk. And people are saying, have dogs, what am I supposed to do? And it's like, oh, well, you can walk your dog. That's it. So there's other very inventive people who've put out their pets for rent. So you can actually rent them. If you feel like going for a walk, you can actually rent their dog and take their dog for a walk and have an excuse to go for a walk. I like how humans can actually get around some of this bullshit. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We have the financial collapse that has happened, and it is beyond a recession warning. Ha ha ha, that's funny. It is into a depression. Into a depression. And then on the strength that the US Congress was going to pass a coronavirus financial bill, all of a sudden yesterday, the Dow Jones skyrocketed because everyone was like, oh, they're going to pass some money, $2 trillion, oh yay. That doesn't even make sense. Beyond the greater question of where the hell's all the money coming from, right? Because this is it. We've been told by the governments for fucking years, they're broke. We got no money. We got no money. We got no money. We're cutting services. We're cutting funding. We're cutting this. We're cutting that. But now all of a sudden we've got money and we're going to start paying everyone all this money. We're going to do all this money. We're going to put all this money into the economy. Into the economy. What? By bailing out the rich people who should have had the money to begin with. Let's call it what it is. This is crazy. In England, the British government has removed COVID-19 from the high levels of, guys, I've just lost the words for it, what they called it. The highest
highly infectious.
Sorry, the highly infectious disease list. England has removed it as of the 19th. March 19th, they've removed COVID-19 from the highly infectious disease list. So now it's listed even lower down than SARS, than MERS. And yet, the whole world has been shut down. Completely and utterly shut down. You've got no trade going across borders, or very, very little. The airlines are shut down. No one is flying. And some of these airlines shut down. I'm going to use the European ones as an example because obviously I'm here, so I was able to track that easier. Airlines are corporations. You need money, right? Big corporations need lots and lots of money. And when you're talking about airlines, you can imagine putting airplanes in the air. It's not like just sending a letter, right? It's quite expensive. Not just in money, but time, manpower, etc. Ryanair, which is a European discount airline, one of the biggest ones in the world, actually, that flies all over Europe. I don't even know how many planes they had, but let's probably say hundreds. Even before the borders were closed, when Italy went into lockdown, before they closed borders in France, in Spain, and properly closed them in Italy, They suddenly announced they're stopping all flights. All flights. First they said we're dropping 80% of our flights. Now they've said we are dropping all flights. Ryanair's not flying anywhere, hasn't for over a week, and they do not think that they will be back operational until June. Now, this is a corporation. This is a corporation who gets its money by taking people to places, flying them. So they've laid off all their staff that they could, etc. And they're not making any money. And it wasn't like they were told to. It wasn't like, well, told to. There was no official thing that came out saying, oh, all the airlines, all the borders are closed. No. They just literally up and announced it. In the last week, you have Etihad, sorry guys, my brain is blanking out on me, but a pile of major long-haul airlines have all stopped all flights. Stopped all flights. Now, here's the thing. Okay, you bring up the cruise lines, Linda. Thank you. Cruise lines, you can understand, they're holiday. Like, people go on a cruise, it is solely for the purpose of a holiday. But the airlines are different because the airlines, every single airline, takes on transport stuff. That's how, because less and less people have been flying because we're in the middle of a fucking recession and no one has any goddamn money, they've been taking on transport. They've been taking on stuff so that they're shipping, using it as a shipping. And as we've seen ocean shipping drop and drop and drop since 2015, airline shipping is going up. And that is how the airlines subsidize their manifest. That's how they subsidize their flights. This is why you have a flight that's 3/4 empty and it's still flying, because they'll have filled the hold full of stuff to be shipped from one place to another place to subsidize that flight. And now it's just stopped dead. Boom. We're not gonna fly anymore. The ships aren't shipping. The planes aren't flying. The trains are basically been abandoned, it looks like, at least in North America. I know that Amtrak has just put in a huge demand for the US government to bail them out because they've lost 92% of their ridership in the last 2 weeks. So what's going on? It's obvious to me that it is not about a pandemic. Okay, and Allison, thank you. Next good point. There's a huge campaign going across. I just saw it yesterday as well. Red Cross, huge campaign requesting blood donations. At no point in time, if you have coronavirus, do you suddenly lose a limb and have to have a blood transfusion. It's not like your arm suddenly falls off and you start bleeding out and they got to start transfusing you with blood. There's nothing about coronavirus that has anything to do with blood transfusion. So why is there a big push all of a sudden to request blood donations? Is it because they're just jumping on a bandwagon going, oh, everyone's all panicked about coronavirus, so if we need to get blood drive going, this is the time to get it, because people will be like, hey, I'll donate blood because I feel all terrible and fearful about this pandemic. Is it simply that? Them just taking advantage of the situation? Or is there more to it than that? Sorry, Roger's making me laugh. He says I wouldn't donate my fucking urine to the Red Cross. I agree with you, Roger, 100%. So what's going on? Financially, we're seeing companies, Freudian slip, countries saying, we're going to make all this money, we're going to give you all this money, we're going to hand out all this money, we're going to bail out the banks. Well, they've been bailing out the banks in the US. They've been bailing out the banks hardcore since September 2019. So this isn't a new thing. This isn't a new thing. So what's going on? Pause for a second, guys. I'll be right back. Give me a moment. Hey, in the house. Come on, go. Move. In the house. Stop. The dogs decided to have a sing-along in the backyard, so I've hauled their asses inside. So what's going on? We're seeing all kinds of crazy shit. The kind of shit that a lot of us have been talking about for over a decade. Now, there was a couple of good articles that came out, and one of them I want to comment on. One of them was by Cameron, and I've forgotten, was it Cameron Day? That's his last name? I haven't spoken to Cameron in years, and he put out a really good article. He was talking about the fact of, oh my goodness, group, could you drink a little quieter? Holy crow. Dog is guzzling water like he's on a submarine. He talked about seeing all this shit playing out right now. And all of a sudden saying, like, is this the shit that we said was coming back in 2011, 2012? Is this what we're seeing? Is it? Don't know. But I want to warn of something here. Because the problem is this. There's been a very, very interesting little thing going on, a little interesting phenomenon. It's not that unusual phenomenon, because we've seen this happen over and over and over again. Where something gets put out very publicly and sets the stage, if you will. So that when certain things happen, they can then jump in and say, yeah, that's us. Yeah, see, we told you. We told you it was us and this was happening. And of course, I'm talking about the QAnon stuff. There is, since 2017, when the QAnon stuff jumped on into the main, started getting almost into the mainstream, there was all these people talking about it. And when I first started analyzing all the stuff way back at the beginning, I kind of laughed, because I was like, this is all the exact same shit that I was telling people in 2012. That my intel providers, the guys who I was getting intel from, were telling me in 2012. Now, this is the exact, and to the point of some of the stuff that was said by QAnon was exact, like to the almost word for word, some of the shit that I was told in 2012. And I went back and I actually reviewed some of the articles I wrote in 2012 and early 2013 and was shocked at the similarities, how it was literally almost word for word. When we have a storyline, it's a narrative that's been built in, totally built in, and has saturated the truther movements, the patriot movements, etc. My question is this: is because, you know, obviously with along with the QAnon stuff, you have the Trump, right? Like, because QAnon's all about Trump. Trump is the savior. Trump is the savior. Trump is the savior. Anyone who can really rationally look at the shit that Trump has done should be able to say, I'm highly questioning that. He's pushing vaccines. He's now just signed a bill to push 5G all across America. He's an Israel worshipping toady, apparently. But he's been placed there as a figurehead to the QAnon stuff. The QAnon stuff. Isn't it convenient that there's a narrative all well, truly entrenched and in place? So that if something was to go ahead, if the quintessential, as I've always called them, the white hats, the guys in the white hats were the good guys who are trying to take down all this bullshit government crap. Everything that happens, if that is indeed what's happening, then immediately the QAnon stuff is all going, that's us over here, yeah, it's us. So my warning to people is my gut tells me that this could literally be what's going on. We could finally be at that place. Maybe finally we are at that place. The people like myself, Cameron Day, and a multitude of others were telling people about in 2011, 12, early 2013, that the takedown of all of this nefarious bullshit is finally happening. In which case, this is that time where we have to absolutely be the observer and not tie ourselves to a narrative. Do not make assumptions. Nick's always jokes, he says to the kids, assume. If you assume, you make an ass of you and me. Assume. Do not assume because things look like they might be happening that it is QAnon, that it is Trump, etc. Because it would be very, very easy for the narrative to suddenly do a flip. And that's what they always do. They always do that. They come along with a narrative, and then all of a sudden at the end, when it diverges from the true thing that's going on, the narrative does a flip and becomes a distraction. We need to observe. We need to be prepared. Absolutely, 100%. We need to be prepared for whatever is coming at us next. And at this point, God knows what it is. All alien invasions are not off the table as far as I'm concerned. And I'm saying that joking, not joking, joking, but not joking. We have all this shit coming at us that we don't know what's coming next. So all we can do is observe and try and remain neutral. Do not jump to conclusions, and try and gather the information that we can. Try and gather the information that we can from reliable sources. And anything you hear on the internet, I'm sorry to say, is not a reliable source. We cannot just take the word of someone like me doing a news show. You can't take my word for it. I know what I know, but you don't know my sources. You don't know my sources. You don't know if I know my sources. And this is the thing. A lot of shit is being presented right now from a basis of, well, I heard this from this person. Do you know that person? I mean, do you really know that person? Do you know for a fact that that person is telling you the exact truth, or are they repeating hearsay? We see lots of reports that come out and people say like, oh, my daughter's boyfriend's cousin sent a message from Italy, from China, from India, saying this. But you know what? That's not reliable. Unless they can give us details, it's not reliable information. I will trust the information I hear from this group of people here. The people that I know are in Norway, are in Denmark, are in Germany, are in France, in Italy, who I know are there, and who I know all you guys. I've known you guys for years, and I know that you guys are going to say, hey, shit, this is what's going on in Norway. I'm going to go, fucking right on. Now we know what's going on in Norway, because I have it from someone I know I can trust. They're going to throw distraction after distraction after distraction after distraction at us right now. They can't use Hollywood to do it, and they can't use sports to do it. So what are they going to throw at us next? Be prepared. And just, like I said, just don't believe anything. If you have to, write it down or just get a piece of paper out. And when you hear these stories, jot down and make like the information tree of like, you know, okay, this is what's saying about this, and this is what's being said about this. Oh, there's another branch. This is what's being said about this. And write it down. And then you can kind of go back and look at the information later and see what's actually going on. I've seen so many ridiculous posts. So many ridiculous posts. Old posts, apparently I'm making the scene again. Old posts. There's a meme, I've got to send it by 4 people in 1 week. That was like turn your cell phones off. Make sure you don't have them near your body on tonight because there's going to be a massive cosmic wave, particle wave, radiation storm. It's all going to happen. It's going to fry you if you have your cell phone on you. This is from 2017. Yet all of a sudden, it's out there again. And okay, someone has to be pushing this shit out. The bullshit lies, for example, like the trucks in Italy carrying all the dead bodies. Oh my God, trucks full of dead bodies. That is not coronavirus. That is from all the people who drowned in 2013. And I don't know why people aren't questioning, because I watched them do this over and over and over and over and over again, where they take an old photo, an old piece of video, an old piece of written information, and they put it out again and say, this is now what's happening right now. And it's not. So I ask everyone, honestly, before you share something on Facebook, on Twitter, on social media, do a little research. Check it out for yourselves. Don't hit the share button. Oh my God, sensational headline, I'll share it. And it's information from 2016. I don't know how many of those I've clicked on, but oh, this is interesting. Click October 2015. It's a little outdated news, don't you think? Oh, gee, I didn't know. Then don't share it. If you can't take the time to at least look at the date to verify that the information you're posting out is new, don't share it. It's not worth sharing bullshit distraction stuff. Take the time, verify the information that you're sharing on your social media, that you're sharing with your friends and your family. Because apparently there's a lot of sick fucks out there who are really pushing out a lot of lies and bullshit. And people are swallowing it whole. So, do your own research, always. Cross-verify everything that you're looking at and posting. And find personal sources of information. This is the land of the internet. This is the era of the internet. We have an opportunity to find people who are in these places. Even if you don't know someone in Romania, I do. So I can get information from Romania. And I know Fred's going to give me the absolute information of what's going on in Romania. I know people in Ireland, Italy, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal. And they're all in the UnFuckers group. Those are the people I trust to give me the information of what's actually going on, what they're seeing and observing. So yeah, that's all I have to say on it at the moment. I'm going to keep on putting the news articles out every single day, and I will keep putting them out. I've also been putting out a meme page every single day, which is a lovely representation of my very twisted and dark sense of humor and sarcasm. And I hope you guys enjoy the silly stuff I've been putting out daily too, because you got to counterbalance it, right? Here's the news, here's some fun. Here's the news, but here's some laughs. So, you guys want to turn on your cameras and come on out? Let's discuss this. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about what I just had to say. Hold on, I guess I have to start this off gallery view. There we go. Hello, darlings. Dawn, you and Maury are sitting in the dark again. It's quite funny. All we can see is silhouette.
I had a Zoom room open last night, so me and Jane and a few other people were on there, and I think we were up to about 1:30 in the morning talking about everything.
I clicked on the link when I got up this morning. I saw the link posted, and it was like 4 hours before. I was like, well, maybe they're still there. I'll just check. But you weren't.
And Maury said he got up to go pee, and he heard me all the way in here.
I didn't know who she was talking to, and I didn't come in to ask either.
He goes to bed a lot earlier than me, and you know.
Hey, I get up earlier than
Yeah,
her
he
too,
does.
by a couple of hours.
I've been putting his ass to work.
Well, here, I got some questions for you guys. I want to ask everyone. Has anyone noticed in the last couple of weeks their sleep patterns radically changing?
Yes.
Either to one extreme, either like going to bed much earlier or going to bed much later.
or you feel really tired and you go lay down and then you're sitting there for hours. Yeah.
And that was the next one. Okay, Dawn, that was the next thing I wanted to ask, because everyone's like, yes. Okay. Is anyone else experiencing almost what I'm calling extreme exhaustion?
Me.
Middle of the day exhaustion.
Have to go lay down. Shit. Yeah.
No choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ask Maury. I laid down for 3 hours yesterday. I did not get up.
I knocked on her door.
He knocked on my door. I would not get up.
Yeah, I got worried about her.
Well, this is because this is kind of one of those strange parts of this, right? Like, I'm not sick. I have a bit of a stuffy nose right now, but that's because I've been out in the garden and I do have tree mold allergies. So as I'm digging around and all the moldy leaves, it's not so good for the eyes and the nose. I'm not sick.
Hey, you better go get a TB test then. You might
Oh
have
my God, I know, coronavirus. Look, I'm going to breathe on you all. Oh, now you all have coronavirus.
And anybody in the room that sneezed yesterday or today, you better get one too.
You get the old look if you cough and sneeze without a mask on.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I keep joking saying I wish I designed my my coronavirus t-shirt earlier and could have gotten it out to the public faster. I couldn't even order myself one because I tell you, I wish I had my t-shirt. Mine when it's just allergies. I swear I'm not going to infect you.
And I've decided I'm ordering all my paper products online to be delivered. I am not fighting anybody at the fucking store for paper towels and
don't even get me started. I'm using dollar store toilet paper right now. My poor ass. I would give good money for some decent 3-ply paper, let me tell you. You can't even fucking find it, let me tell you. You can't even fucking find this shit. So this is the thing. I have been exhausted.
There's plenty in G&R.
Oh, gee, thanks. Jenny, could you throw some in the post for me?
That's funny, man.
I've been exhausted. And I've been getting up ridiculously early. I think the latest morning I've woken up this week was this morning. I woke up at about 7:45. But most mornings I'm waking up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. You guys know me. I am never in bed before 2 o'clock in the morning. Ever. And I'm never, well, most mornings not up before 9. I'm exhausted. Today, literally, I was up at 7:45. By 11 o'clock this morning, I was like, I could go lay down, go back to bed right now. I could go and all day yesterday, I dragged my ass. Like, I forced myself to get up and say, okay, we are going to go work in the garden because it was a gorgeous spring day. Out working in the garden. And while I'm doing it, I'm okay. You know, like I'm out digging in the garden. Yeah, I felt, as soon as I come back in and sit down, I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. This is new. This is like we've all talked about this for the last little while. But we have those days where all of a sudden you feel really tired. You have wipeout days, or days vice versa, where all of a sudden you can't sleep. But this has now been like a week. Yeah, Christina, my boys. I've had a couple of mornings this week where my boys haven't woken up until 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm literally getting up before my kids and going, "What?" Speaking of like someone peeking around the corner going, you talking about me? I see you, troublemaker. Go sit down. Where are you going? You getting a drink? No, you can have a drink of water and you can go back to the living room. Nice try.
So like Christy comes here on Wednesdays, right? Her ass is always here at 8 o'clock in the morning.
7:45.
Or whatever. Yeah. And Maurice had to call her this morning. She didn't get up.
She told me that's the first time she's ever overslept.
Ever.
Okay, so look at, there's Megan just said all 3 of her kids just slept in this morning. Christina as well, talking about kids sleeping. Yeah, like.
I just gave up feeling guilty because for the past while, my sleep schedule has been like staying up to like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., then like sleeping till like 2 p.m. Like I just stopped feeling guilty about it. I'm like, okay.
And that's where I've been for quite a while, Zero, because I kind of threw the idea of scheduled out the fucking window with my family. We eat when we're hungry, we sleep when we're tired type thing. But this last week and a half or so has been crazy. And that's why I decided to put it out there, like who else? Yeah, like Christy over here. Christy just said my husband cannot stay awake past 9 p.m. I went to bed at 10:30 last night. My husband looked at me like I was fucking crazy.
It means you're getting old.
And that's what he said. Then he said, "Are you becoming a senior citizen on me?" I'm like, "Fuck you, just fuck you. I'm going to bed." Yeah, this is the crazy stuff. So I want to know, how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing right now? Beyond the extreme exhaustion and the fact that no one can find toilet paper except Jenny in Malta. How's everyone doing? Zero's exhausted. He's yawning over there in the corner.
Tired but excited for what's going down right now. This is worldwide, unprecedented, no matter what the hell it is. I'm glad to be an observer of whatever the hell is coming down the pike right now.
Yeah, Roger. That's my gut feeling too.
The like everything in the pond has been stirred up. Like literally anything could happen. I mean, it really is. Like the whole entire world has been. Yeah.
It's crazy. Jimmy, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that's having to what do you call it, shield myself because I've got COPD, asthma, arrhythmia, HIV, which is a big one, and I'm self-isolating anyway. But the only thing what they're saying here in the UK is that all people with vulnerability who have to self-shield, who've got these pre-existing medical conditions, got them at risk, they'll be contacted to let them know what they need to do and what support's there for them, because we're not supposed to leave the house, we're supposed to have food delivered, but you can't get a delivery online for about 3 to 4 weeks.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I've got a specialist social worker that contacts me on a regular basis. She's off sick at the moment, but she's working from home. And she said, "Do you need anything?" I said, "No, I've been preparing for months." When I first saw the news, I said, "Just to be on the safe side, I've got stuff in." She said, "Well, if you need anything, let me know." I said, "No, I'm okay." But there's an organisation around the corner, a little community organisation. They're supposed to be acting as a hub, but everything's so chaotic, they don't know what the hell they're doing. And it's us having to contact them to say, "Look, I'm here. I don't need anything, but my neighbours might. Can you?" So I'm actually quite not enjoying what's happening, but I'm enjoying seeing how things are developing. And
I hear you.
Enjoying sounds like a sick thing to say, but it's interesting times. If it is a big psyop, then so many people are being woken up by it. So many people now. You've got people question things on the news, and the presenters are actually changing the subject or cutting to somebody else and say, "Your Skype's gone down. We can't continue the conversation. We'll try again later." So people are asking, and it's the self-employed in the UK who effectively keep this country running, who aren't getting the support that they need right now. So if they have to self-isolate, stay at home, or they have to shut down all of these independent traders, then this country is fucked. Absolutely fucked. And there's going to be no way they can get back from it. So it does seem like one big plan that's going out. And it's each country step by step. They're bringing the same restrictions and the same limitations on people.
Yep.
So if it is going to be over in a couple of months, then fine. If it's not, then there's going to be major uprisings everywhere. People aren't going to take it anymore.
I don't think that there's any restrictions in place in Mexico, because I've seen people that have already gone there. But of course,
Mexico closed their borders. No, Mexico
they
closed the
closed
borders.
the borders to the Americans, but I don't think they're going through I don't think they're doing any of this.
No, but they've closed their borders entirely, not just to Americans. They've closed their borders. They've closed their borders. They've locked the country down. As to what's going, I've got a friend in Mexico. I'll ask her.
Yeah.
I'll ask Lainey what's going on, because I know she's there right now.
Yeah, I think they're all still walking around.
This is the thing. There's various aspects to this, but I agree with what Jimmy said. If this turns out to be no more the cabal, the shadow governments, the bad guys, the black hats, their plan to institute their new world order, and this is going to continue in any way, shape, or form, they're done. They're toast. It will never happen. because so many people have woken up because of this. So many people are so mad. You cannot take away the livelihoods of all these independent people. Like Jimmy was just saying, like the people who are really getting shafted right now are anyone who works for themselves. Anyone who's self-employed, get jack shit. Same thing in Canada, same thing all over Europe. A good portion of these people are falling through the cracks of these plans. Like, okay, anyone who's lost their job can apply to get this money. But if you're self-employed, then you haven't lost your job. Therefore, you get jack shit. When you, and exactly, there's millions of self-employed in the UK. When you have people who are not fitting into these demographics, when you have people who are not going to get money because they haven't lost their job. So, for example, our car broke down today. Oh, happy day! Our car's fucking toast. And we had to call the tow truck. So we're chatting with the guy who's driving the tow truck. And Nick said to him, "Oh, so you must be really busy." The guy goes, "Well, no, actually. We're down to, we usually take 200 calls a day. We're lucky if we get 10 or 20 now." Now, he hasn't lost his job. He hasn't lost his job. He's still going to work. But he gets paid by all the calls that he goes out and the cars that he tows away. So if no one's on the road, therefore no one's breaking down, therefore he's not getting any money. He is one of those people who's going to fall through the cracks because he hasn't lost his job. He's not isolated at home. He hasn't been put on quarantine. But his income, the company's income, is plunged, and he's not making his commissions on bringing cars in. These people are everywhere, and they number in the millions of millions of millions. You already have, I'd have to say, at least a third of the population of England anyway, pissed the fuck off about this quarantine shit. They're not buying it. They are not buying it. Everyone I'm talking to in the States, same kind of shit. Canada, same kind of shit. They're not really buying it. They might be going along with it because really what choice do you have but to go along with everything? But a lot of people are at the very least questioning, being like, I have some questions as to why I can't go for a drive in my car all by myself. How is that breaking quarantine? I'm in my car by myself. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going for a drive. No, you can't. You must stay in your house. So if this is PSYOP, if this is them trying to push their new world order, their fucking Agenda 2021, whatever, they're fucked. They're fucked because the people are only going to take so much before they're going to take to the streets, and there will be full-blown riots and revolution.
And they were saying that they could possibly unleash the drones, you know, to and I was laughing. I was like, well, people in Texas will be shooting them out of the sky like skeet.
So people in Texas, all my Texan friends will be all like, skeet shooting, awesome. We're going to go skeet shooting. Beyond that, too many people are questioning everything, whether it's the coronavirus itself, whether it's the entire idea of quarantine and locking a country down when it's only, you know, for example, who was it? India. 10 people have died, and they've locked like 2.5 billion people down and locked the country for 10 people who've died.
And Twitter has gone crazy.
More people in India die of fucking toenail infections a day than 10 people. Like, literally. So people are not fucking buying this shit. And then you have the financial stuff, like the banks, all these governments, you know, we're going to give you this, we're going to pay out this, we're going to bail out the airlines, we're going to bail out the banks, we're going to bail out the hedge funds, we're going to bail out the cruise lines, we're going to, even though they're not American. I love that one. Fucking cruise liners are saying, we need a bailout, and the 3 major cruise liners are registered in Panama, Malta, and Costa Rica, I think. And they're going to the American government saying they need a bailout.
The other thing that's going crazy is Twitter. Like, I never use Twitter, hardly ever, like never. But spending maybe like a day on Twitter, like they're going crazy with all these subjects, and like all these different hashtags are being like looped together in one image. So you just like, oh, okay, let's look up this.
Inundated. Well, I don't know if there is a hashtag of this yet, but I started one this morning. I don't know if you guys saw the news story. Jeff Bezos is asking for the public to donate to the Amazon fund. Jeff Bezos. Yeah, the richest man on the planet is asking all you guys who are fucking stuck in your houses, lost your fucking jobs, have no livelihood, and are trying to live off of baked beans, but you should donate to his Amazon fund to help his workers.
Okay, so
I literally started the hashtag hate Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
I was just like, there's got to be that hashtag must be an
okay. That particularly irks me because I've just recently seen a video that someone did where they counted grains of rice. They counted out individual grains of rice. They each represented $10,000, right? And they're like, see this little pile? This is like a multi-million-dollar house in California. You see this? Like, see this pile? This is Jeff Bezos' mansion. Then he's like, you see this pile? It's like he sticks a keyboard in it, and the keyboard goes halfway into this huge pile of rice. And it's just like, that's Jeff Bezos' fortune.
Yeah. And he has the nerve to tell us that we should donate.
But at the same time, they're hiring for Amazon right now. I just heard yesterday here in my neck of the woods, Walmart's hiring. Amazon people working from home, being customer representatives, are hiring. So he's trying to drum up money to pay his employees when he's got a going up his keister and coming out his nose. You know, it's just like, what the actual fuck?
And I'm sorry, like every Amazon employee across the world should be literally going, knock, knock, knock. I have something to say. I have got something to say here. But this is the kind of bullshit, and it's being seen now. It's not just like transparency. It's like transparency under a magnifying glass. Like we are seeing every nook and cranny of this bullshit. And people are looking at, like, for example, even 5 years ago, if you'd had a bunch of like Hollywood superstars go out and make videos to support something, oh, you mean like Live Aid, et cetera, everyone in the public would have been like, oh, our heroes. Now these guys are all making videos of themselves singing a song, and everyone's like, fuck you in your self-isolation in your mansion with your 5-course dinners. Fuck you. No one's buying it. Like, no one. And what the fuck? Did you guys see that Madonna video? With her in the goddamn bathtub?
Mm-hmm.
In a fucking bathtub, in like some kind of milk bath with rose petals floating around her, being like, oh, the coronavirus is the great equalizer. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Fuck
In total opposite to what she sang at the Eurovision Song Contest. Isn't that interesting?
Oh, don't even. I lost my lighter. Shitballs.
Because there she sang, not everyone will go into the future.
Yeah. Not everyone's gonna go into. God damn it!
She's gonna be one of those that's not going to meet the future, along with a bunch of her other whiny ass millionaires. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I've actually been seeing in the chat room discussion about astrology as to where we're at right now. I've also heard and kind of looked into astrology about the times we're in now. They pretty much mimic, and please someone come on and correct me if I'm wrong, that they mimic the times back in the day when George Washington was fighting the British for independence of America. So we're in the time of revolution basically right now. What was it? Saturn squaring Pluto or something, or Neptune or something like that. We're in that time again right now, the time of revolution, but this time it's global apparently. Anyone want to chime in on that?
Amina or Megan. Megan's got the baby. So, Amina, I'm going to call on you if you're awake. Amina, are you there? Yes? No? Maybe?
Sure,
Megan,
leave me hanging, people.
so we're just going to leave him hanging.
I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm
Oh,
here.
there she is. You're probably getting your headset, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't put my camera on, but it's okay. I reckon, you see, we had, okay, how astrology works, how I see it is that when you get a big planetary conjunction, it sets a ball rolling. And then every time a planet from that conjunction gets triggered again or moves and triggers another planet, it develops the story into, okay, this is the next stage, this is the next level of that particular story. So we start the story, let's say we start the story with Saturn and Pluto, and the solar eclipse from the lunar eclipse from January. Okay, those happen around the same time. And we watch the Pluto story because it's the slowest planet and the one with the sort of the biggest meme around it, which is like power in high places. And we watch that one, and that one we see after Saturn passed it and made this first news of a virus in Wuhan, and then we see the other planets that are going to pass it and conjunct it too. So we had the Saturn, and we had Mars, and we have Jupiter. And what Mars does is it kind of accelerates the situation. And then there are other planets that we have to look at because, you know, the relationship is ongoing with other planets as well. But we watch the main trigger points. So we watch the solar eclipse from December 26th, which is in Capricorn. And we watch the where the nodes, you know, where the nodes are focused. And we watch the trigger points from that. So I noticed that it started to jump to other countries and started to become widespread the moment Mars went over that point. And then when Mars reaches to Pluto, is very aggressive. The whole thing becomes very aggressive. As Jupiter comes along as well, we get a lot of conflicting reports, but we also get lots of speculation. We get lots of exaggeration. We get lots of promises, financial kind of like, this is the financial promises that we're going to give. And then we see more or less an exaggeration of the situation. But we also see things going on in the celebrity world, and everyone's talking about that because we've got Jupiter, and well, Jupiter is about, you know, is about the whole sort of like glamour and glitz as well. My internet connection is unstable. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just every so often a word gets a bit garbled, but you're pretty clear. Hopefully.
Okay, and so we watch the sun, which does which moves every day as well, and we watch the moon because they're fast movers and they go and trigger planets quite quickly, so we can get a hint of what's going on. And then when Saturn went into Aquarius, which was just a few days ago, Saturn entered Aquarius, and we get a lot of countries going on lockdown at the same time. The announcements when Saturn, being authority, moves into Aquarius, which is like humanity and freedom, and Saturn restricts, we notice that a lot of countries are going on lockdown all at the same time. Now, if we see that as a picture, and Mars is going to come and it's going to conjoin Saturn in Aquarius on the 31st of March.
Isn't it?
Now that,
yeah,
that's the 31st. Okay, so what we see is if Saturn just entering Aquarius brings lockdowns, then Mars is even heavier when it joins Saturn. Now, Mars can represent aggression. it can represent war, it can represent assertiveness. So it can also, like as Aquarius rules the internet, don't be surprised if the internet goes down.
We just really quick with that. We are expected to have 10 days of darkness. Trump was talking about for 15 days. He brought up 15 days of self-quarantine, something like that, from the March 16th until the 31st. The 31st on to about April 10th or 11th, we're supposed to be witnessing some sort of blackout. It could be the internet, but expect TV. Now, if none of this stuff happens, then it doesn't happen, but just kind of expect it. Phone service possibly going down, but definitely TV, radio stations, just kill switch, internet as well. A lot of people are speaking about platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and things of that sort going down so people can exchange information while whatever takes place. There are reasons why these blackouts are going to take effect. So I would suggest that people maybe make in the Unfuckers page, on the Unfuckers page, make a post about exchanging phone numbers for people who haven't exchanged phone numbers, emails, and things of that sort to stay in touch with one another.
If Facebook is a corporation that goes down, that means WhatsApp does too. So don't assume that you're going to get to use WhatsApp. Find alternatives. It might not happen, but you never know.
Well, here's the one thing I want to add to that. Amina, just 1 second. The one thing I want to add to that is my intel back in 2011 and 2012 also talked about this. Also talked about the fact, now they didn't say 10 days. I think they were talking, they were saying there may be 4 or 5 days, possibly a week. But they talked about there would be, everything would go down, that everything would be shut down. The internet, the TV, radio, all that kind of social media especially. So this is not a new thing. That is something that I was told by my guy from inside the Pentagon. So just putting that out there is not saying it's going to happen. Just saying that.
Well, I didn't know that. I was only looking at the astrology and looking at that assumption from the astrology.
Yeah.
And it is an assumption, basically. I mean, like an astrology isn't just like, you don't have like every answer. You can only draw pictures based on what you've got, and they're just clues, right? So looking at that was the what I saw. And then today when I saw the news of Chinese warships entering Australian territory, and they were docking in Australia, in Darwin, I thought, okay, that's a Mars thing. Mars is aggression, and it can mean war, but it might not be war. It just might mean that, warships are on the move, and we don't know what that's about. But if we want to follow the story, we have to look at Aquarius now. So Aquarius is a sign that squares Taurus, and we've got Uranus in Taurus, and that's unexpected things. Taurus is like the world, the earth, the ground. We've got unexpected things on the ground, and we've got Uranus, which is the air, and it is also humanity, and it is
electricity,
and the ether, and the electricity is technology. So if we've got something like a square from Mars going to Uranus, we have to look at what kind of things are going on there. Now, if you put 2 and 2 together and you say, well, okay, that could be a very unexpected situation that knocks out technology, or it could be an unexpected situation that drives technology, because a square doesn't necessarily mean a cancellation of something. It could just mean a lot of work around something. So it's conflicting, but it's also progressive as well. It depends how you use that kind of energy. So I'm not sure what that could be, but you've got to watch for that. And if I could pull up a date, I'll have to. Megan, do you want to jump in while I look for a date?
Well, I mean, I want to just ask you a quick question, because you talk about Mars and, of course, Aries, the whole war aspect of it. I find it very, very interesting that all world leaders, i.e. Trump, Trudeau, fucking Boris here in the UK, Ireland, are using the word war. We are in a war. This is a war. This is a war against the virus. It is being used over and over again. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Nothing about that statement makes sense, yet we're listening to all these world leaders are using that terminology.
Okay.
Actually, he
The
said
word war.
Actually,
The
he
word
said,
war, when used
Hold on,
in a
Zero,
statement
just wait,
by a
wait.
president,
Go ahead, Amina.
because it's the word war and not actual war, it means that they can open up special emergency rights on laws, right? So if they use that word, then it's a state of emergency based on a war. It's not. It's like 9/11. They can declare it's a war, right?
Also, what Trump said is he didn't say he said a war against a hidden enemy.
Yes, an unseen enemy, an invisible enemy. He said,
not against a virus. Yeah, not against a virus.
Well, the narrative gives special powers, right? So using that word triggers the special powers in law. Okay, so if we look at April,
and then we'll get Megan up after you.
Yeah, so Mars does square Uranus in the first few days of April, and we're looking at, okay, if we've got the first 10 days of April being dubious in terms of what's going to happen to our technology, then the peak of that is when Mars squares Uranus around the 7th, 8th, 9th of April. So that is the peak. So if it does shut down when... Yeah, sorry about that. Well, happy birthday if I don't get to say it before
on
the day.
Mine's the 18th. Happy birthday, Sister Aries.
Happy birthday.
Aries rocks.
So
we
look at that. Okay, everyone else, you want to jump in? Yeah, so I won't take up all the space.
Megan, can you jump in now? Do you have your phone sorted out?
I do. I don't know what
there
the hell
she
is going
is.
on with
Yay!
Hi. So I'll take a little different slant on the astrology than Amina did because there's so many different facets. I have been talking about 2020 in, readings, public speeches, workshops that I've been doing based on astrology since 2016. And actually when Jesse and I first met, he would talk about like, something's going to happen. He's like, I feel something big. Like, this is all going to fall. Like, I just don't believe in this system. It doesn't hold any merit. I'm like, yeah, not till 2020. Like, don't get your hopes up. And he would get really annoyed with me. Like, no, I want it to happen now. But these Saturn-Pluto cycles are so powerful. And, Amina, Jules, and myself, we've been talking about them on the shows for the last year. And touching on something Amina said, we can see patterns that play out, but we can't say the specifics of how it all falls. Like, we didn't say, yes, there's going to be a virus. Yes, there's going to be this and that. But, we knew something big was going to happen. We knew that authority was going to clamp down. We knew big, intense changes were going to happen so that things could be dismantled and fall. And I find it really interesting because it's kind of been like my catchphrase for the last year and a half, basically since November of 2018, when the node switched onto the Cancer Capricorn axis. It's like the astrology is trying to push us back into our humanness. And it's kind of like we're being drugged, kicking and screaming. Some people are willingly, but some people just didn't want to get out of that story that we've all been sold. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, you know, you turn a certain age, you have to work, you have to dedicate so many hours of your life to this and that, and everybody just feels like that's normal, or they think that these are systems that are put in place to help us, or that they're on our side, the government's on my side, the healthcare, they're here to heal me, they're here to make me better. No, they're not. Like, these systems and institutions are so distorted and so out of alignment with what they need to actually be in to function properly, that we need to be pushed out of it in order for it to fall. And I think that's what we're seeing in the world at large. But it's not like, you know, you flip a switch and it's done. Like, it's a process that's unfolding, and because there is an Aquarian element to it, you can't really see the what of it until we're on the other side. But it's easy to see the why. It's easy to see that things are fucked up. It's easy to see that, you know, we need to move into a better place. I think, right, like like as Amina said, we just had Saturn move into Aquarius, and the big buzzword right now, we touched on this not that long ago, is social isolation. Social, humanity, people, those are Aquarian words. Isolation, distancing, social distancing, that's Saturn. Saturn puts boundaries, and it wants to keep things separate in all their own little boxes. So I feel like, because Saturn isn't just in Aquarius to stay right now, Saturn's going to move back into Capricorn for a little bit, from July 1st until December 17th, because of the retrograde. So I think this first taste that we're getting, we're going to see more of this, like the social distancing, the isolation, keeping people separate. I think when Capricorn and Saturn come back together, we might see a little bit more of why the government is doing what they're doing. But I don't really think we're going to see the full picture until 2021, because the nodes are going to move in May, and the North Node is going to be in Gemini, and Gemini is about information and getting to the, you know, like connecting all the dots, like bringing all the little pieces together. And the South Node will be in Sagittarius. So the South Node is going to be the release point, where it's been Capricorn for a while. So for the last year and a half, we've been asked to release the institutions. We've been asked to release the control and structure systems that are in place that don't serve us. What's going to happen next is the belief systems, the ideologies, like, you know, my religion is this, or my information is this. That's going to be the release that we're going to be called with Sagittarius. So Gemini is all about all the little different facets and how we can bring them together. When Mars crosses the North Node in Gemini, we might get more information then. We're also going to have Saturn in Aquarius to stay for 3 years then. And I think that with what's happening with Saturn in Aquarius now, whatever in the world is going to happen over the summer with Saturn in Capricorn again, because that's going to be July 1st to the end of September. I think when we get, or when in end of September it'll go direct. I think in 2022 into 2023, you're going to see a social revolution, like the people's revolution. We're going to be really angry. Yeah, you know, the government, they can fabricate all this money and do this, and oh yeah, we'll help you and we'll bail the corporations out. But if things start going, you know, life goes back to normal, and we're all expected to go back to normal when we've been shown that everything functions just fine without a 40-hour week, we survived. Why can't you help us then? Or why can't we do that? Like, I think people are going to start questioning, and they're going to revolt, and they're going to rebel. And I think maybe in a roundabout way, that's why they want us all separate right now. But I think it's going to bite them in the ass.
Haha, I was muted because I had background noise. I found it really, really interesting. You talked about the changing of the, how do we say that? Taking us out of our comfort zone. Do you know what I'm saying? Taking us out, there's a lot of people who are not, this is normal. We talked about this Sunday night a little bit. What I could hear of what we're talking about, well, my internet was falling up and down. People have now defined it. When subtle changes happen like this, right? You don't feel the changes so much. It's not like it just goes boom and everything changes overnight. So we've now got this system in place that is so controlling, so corrupt, But so many people, it's their norm. And the idea of stepping outside of that to anything that's not what they define as normal is terrifying to them. And I think it's really, really interesting that, for example, this situation right now, this situation, this lockdown, quarantine, borders closed, etc. It's put a lot of people into a position personally where it has to change up their accepted norm. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a sudden change. It breaks their patterns. It breaks your daily scheduled structure that you accept as normal and puts you in a place of neutral. Where now everything's like this. It's just kind of hovering and no one knows what's going to happen next. And a lot of people are freaked out, obviously, as you would be, completely freaked out. But it's interesting to watch how people react to it. And those who are fighting against it, not fighting against the underlying issues at hand, or not fighting against even the conspiracy background issues about this, but the people who are fighting against it because it has broken their self-appointed norm. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like all of a sudden the kids can't go to school. Oh my God, what do I do now? Oh my God, I can't go to work. Oh my God, no, I can't go to the pub. I can't go to the movie theater. I can't go to the gym. Oh my God, I hate this. I hate this. This is terrible. It's terrible. And it has nothing to do with what the circumstances are. It has solely to do with their preconceived notion of normal is being shattered. And it makes them so uncomfortable that regardless of anything else, they can't deal with it. And I think it's very interesting that we're all being put to that place without choice.
And I think there's a reason why they're putting us in that place, Danny. I think because we've mentioned before, like millionaires don't use astrologers, billionaires do, because there really is something to these cycles that play out. And there are, people really high up there that are aware of these things and they use the energies to their advantage. So speculatively, if they see that there's potential, and when we see these things in astrology, it doesn't mean it will happen. It means the potential is energetically there. It's how we use the energy in like a boots on the ground way. So if they see the potential for a people's rebellion, it makes sense that they are doing what they're doing, because the proverbial they, because if they throw us so far out of our comfort zone, and it's like they're trying to take us into a spot where we're weak and we're, our confidence is shattered and we're questioning not what they're doing, but just life in general. But I think that one thing that they are forgetting to factor in is humans in general, we have a pretty spectacular way of pivoting with the punches. Once we get over that initial shock, we're really good at that as a species. But we have to get out of our own way first, and we have to be really uncomfortable to do that.
And it's right now. I mean, that pretty much describes it right now, right? We are uncomfortable. People are uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable. I've actually just been like, but it hasn't taken me radically out of my schedule because I haven't had a schedule in so many years, other than show times. And even that's been changed now, right? Like even that's now had to change.
Yeah, you make us get up early over here
I
in the
make you get up
States.
early. I know. Sucks to be you guys.
As Megan said, we all have to go through first shock. And that's what I was thinking about that at home. It's like, imagine all these people getting out the other side of whatever side it is. And they think, what? You asked me to stay at home for a month? And you told me you were giving me money. There is no money. There are no jobs. There's not anything. I'm waiting for how many people are going to get through this shock in a month or two or three.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see. But I think it's also good because I think it is going to give, if people allow themselves to be open, and this is what I was saying before the other day, last week, that this situation in our personal realities, not globally, but our own life, our own family, what we make of it ourselves right now is, I think, what colors how we move forward, right? If you are kicking and screaming and raging out and stressing out, etc., that is kind of what I think your reality is going to kind of reflect. But if you can take the moment and kind of go, I can't fix this. I'm out of work, or I've been laid off, or I can't go to school, or I can't go out and go to the gym. My regular schedule has been blown out.
Danny, do you remember we said?
Go ahead, Amina.
Do you remember we said that we're going to start looking at new things about growing food and community, and we're going to have to learn to build that? Mm-hmm. Well, this is the first point in where we're going to have to notice what we need to change. Because if we have been depending on being able to run around and do our things in a semi-isolation in society, we're independent. We're not interdependent. Yep. We're independent from each other. We don't depend on each other for anything. We don't share anything. We don't know who our neighbors are. We don't have communities anymore. But we need to learn, because we're entering an age and we're entering a sort of reality where we're going to have to learn those things. This is the reality check right now. Everyone is looking at themselves and their life and what their choices have been and how they've been working out their life until now. And now everything is different. And if people can get through that, what's going to happen when everyone gets to meet each other? They're going to say hello. They're going to say, how are you? They're going to take an interest in other people. Yep. And this is what we need. This is exactly what we need.
And we see the seeds of this. Okay, go ahead, Zero.
Another thing that, two things actually. One on your point about like your own bubble of ice, like your own bubble of what you choose to experience. I posted on my Facebook, like, I refuse to participate in the panic. So if you want to choose to experience this as hell, go ahead, because I'm not fucking doing it. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this is what I needed to hear. Yep. And I think that's important to sort of post that, like, I'm not going to panic, because I feel like that spreads. Yep. Also, in the global sense, though, to draw an analogy, it feels like we've let things fester in this awful pool that is tepid and gross, and now the sludge at the bottom everything has been tossed up. Like, so it is no longer just a stagnant pool. Yeah. And we're kind of realizing how fucked up it was, and how things aren't just going to settle back into that stagnant pond anymore. Like,
they can.
There's movement.
They can if we allow it. It's up to us to not allow it to stagnate into one of these ponds. And going back to what Amina was saying about community, we're already seeing it. Now, there's been some awesome posts. There's 2 or 3 neighborhoods in the States. I don't know if it was probably just one guy who started it. And he started in his local neighborhood, and now it's expanding because it got shared on social media. He went around to his neighborhood. He gave every household a green card and a red card to post in their front window. So if you're okay, he said he had a lot of retired people in his neighborhood. So he said, if you're okay, put the green card in your window so we all know that you're okay. But if something comes up that you need food, you need help, you need someone to take you to the grocery store, pick you up groceries, or you need medicine or anything, put the red card in the window so that in the neighborhood, everyone will go, oh my God, Mr. So-and-so's got a red card in the window. And they can knock on his door and say, are you okay? What do you need? We can make an arrangement. We'll get you groceries. We'll get you medicine. We'll whatever. These things are already happening. And it's like an organic piece of people reaching out to other people, like looking after their neighbors, looking at, keeping an eye out. If you know you've got a neighbor who's got, for example, a single mom with 2 young little children who's next door, down the hallway from you, etc. What does it take to be able to say, hey, can I help you? If you need something all of a sudden, you run out of nappies or something like that, I have a car, I can go run out and grab those for you. It's happening already. Like I said, it's already happening. People are being really inventive and coming up with great ideas how to help other people out in their local neighborhoods. Now, again, you go into kind of like what I've been talking about for ages, about like community gardens and things like that. Okay, well, guess what? We can't do that right now because you're not allowed to gather. But in the future, once all this fucking quarantine shit blows over, how many people are going to go, gee, I wish maybe we should start it. You can go around and be like, maybe we should start some kind of a community garden so that if something like this ever kind of happens again, we'll have produce that, we can go and deliver it out to other people in the community who need help, et cetera, et cetera. There's all kinds of people coming up with really, truly inventive and creative ways of helping out their communities. These are the things we need to support and expand on, right? Go into your neighborhood. The red card, green card, I think is one of the best ideas I've ever heard for anyone who's living in houses. I think that's something that everyone should run with. Go out. What does it cost you? It costs you some colored paper to go out and make sure everyone on your street has got, a red piece and a green piece, and just to put print off a little note to go with it. And just put it through everyone's mailbox. Costs nothing, yet it could make such a huge difference in your local community.
Danny, what you're saying and what Amina was saying, to me, it's all like ringing the story of Uranus being in Taurus right now, and how we've been saying on the astrology shows that in order to go forward, we need to go back. So what you're talking about, these things that don't cost money, helping people, growing community gardens, that's where value is. And all these things that are being taken away from us, like, oh, I can't go down south to, all exclusive, drink my face off for a week, or, like things that people aren't being able to do, but they cost money and they keep us separate from each other. I think what's happening right now, people are going to start seeing that, okay, at first I was really mad that I couldn't do this and I was inconvenienced. But now I'm actually more mad that my rights and my freedoms were disbanded without my input, and I was so distracted by this. Well, this isn't valuable. Where is the value? And we need to go back to go forward. Community used to be a big thing. They say, it takes a village to raise a child. People used to be there for one another. We're so easily connected to people all around the world because of technology, but at the same time, we're so separate from each other and from the people around us. Like, you see families sitting together, all of them on their devices and not actually communicating. People need to come back together. We need to go back to the ways that actually worked. Because if we go back, if something like this happened, well, they're really not able to take that much from us.
Right. But we got to go back to the days of, before this virus pandemic took place, I had a brief conversation with Linda about this yesterday on Facebook. People were already separated and segregated, and they did it to themselves. They listened to the bullshit that was told to them by their their handlers, their slave masters, telling them they have to be separated by religion, they have to be separated by politics, gender, you name it. So people have been self-isolating themselves for a long time and just wearing masks out there amongst the public when they go out and do their everyday mundane chores. So I really hope that this global thing, I mean, for me, it's unprecedented. I have never witnessed anything like this on this planet in my damn near 50 years of incarnation. So I really feel that it is it is definitely a special thing that is happening right now, and where people, the individual and the collective, decide to take it is totally up to them, and I hope they do some great things with it.
Yep.
But you know
No,
what's
I agree.
strange? What's so strange? When we had 9/11, right? People came together in solidarity, right? But now they have now this new catastrophic event where everyone actually needs everyone to calm down and to cope with it, and now they're taking that even away, right? And what is also strange, I spent like this week when I was shopping most of the time trying to give little tips to the people in the supermarket, like, hey guys, you have like a surplus of kitchen towels, maybe let's make this little trick with 2 rubber bands and a stapler. Let's have a little face mask, not only to protect you. I mean, everything is better right now than nothing, but it's not about protecting yourself, it's protecting all of us if we all would wear something so we don't cough that shit everywhere, right? Like if you want to do this and stuff. So I was out today with that kitchen towel mask shopping, and I got so much flack from people like, why are you wearing this? Are you trying to make people panic? No. And I explained, I'm doing it not to protect myself, I'm doing it to protect you, because if I have it, I probably don't know it for the next 7 days until I have the symptoms or something, but in that time I'm infecting people. But with this little trick, I reduce the amount like significantly to a significant point, you know, and that is so strange because they had us divided, but now since that global thing happens, we are all wanting to come together, right? Like if you're left, if you're right, we need to come together. Everyone knows it, but now they're trying to divide us even more and not allowing us to mend those wounds that split us as a global society, so to speak, right?
Yes, Basi, you know, some time ago, I was listening to a radio show where they were talking about the Institute Tavistock, how they introduced the marketing since the 20s. And they realized slowly throughout the years, around the 80s, that if they start dividing and isolating the people were more vulnerable. Yeah? So if you have very young people already without the care of the parents, without the advice of the old people, they were more, what can I say? They were more easy to believe all the things that the politicians were telling us. Politics is at the end of the day as marketing as well. So they were trying really, really hard to individualize everybody, even countries like Spain and Italy right now, where the communities were very strong. People we get weak, and they will swallow the lies. That's the way it is. And now, after all this, people will realize we can't live by ourselves. We need a community. That's what we hope that is going to develop after this.
Very much so. And I've talked about this multiple times over the years on shows. Back when my eldest daughter was a baby, I went to the Leche League convention. Now, if anyone doesn't know, the Leche League is like a breastfeeding support, and they do a lot of like going into homes and helping people and do groups, etc. And they used to do conventions, and I got the chance to listen to it. Of course, I've forgotten her name now. She was an anthropologist, and she came and she gave a keynote speech that had such a dramatic effect that I can literally remember everything about this speech. And she talked about finding your tribe. And she talked about the fact that right now, the way society is set up now is completely unnatural. It is not the way we were meant to live. And talking about, for example, obviously it was dealing with the idea of childbirth, having a baby, and support for the new mother, etc. And they were saying, she was talking about the fact of like, up until 100 years ago, if you were a new mom and you were having a baby, you'd have your mother there, your mother-in-law, your sisters, your sisters-in-laws, your aunties, your cousins, You would live within a community still where your family was, if not in the same house, they were close by you. And a mother would have a baby, and the whole family would come together. And if she didn't have family, there would be the village, there would be the town, and the people would come together, and there would be things like making dinners for them, making sure the mom could rest, making sure she had everything she needed to look after the baby. And society has become completely shattered. And now families are no longer close like that. North America, the Western concept of how we live, we don't have our parents living with us anymore. We don't have our in-laws. We don't have aunties and uncles or cousins or even brothers and sisters in this. So most of us don't even have them in the same town anymore, let alone sometimes even in the same country. So there's this breakdown of society that there is no longer this sense of community where people looked after each other. Up until 100 years ago, it was like, everyone looked after the grannies. Everyone looked after the grandpas. If there was an older person on the street who needed looked after, everyone looked after that person. The family, and if they didn't have family, then other people would look after them, would make sure they were looked after, they had food, etc., etc. That is how society, that is how humanity is supposed to be, living in community. And that doesn't mean these, gated communities where you're all living in a community, but you don't actually know your neighbors and you don't talk to them. Community where people are genuinely looking out for each other, are communicating what their needs are, exchanging services, exchanging, someone's growing corn, but someone else has got hens and have got eggs, and someone else has the ability to sew, and someone else has got the ability to build things, a carpenter. That is how it always was. Now they have broken that. So therefore, we have become a society of people who've been forced to do self-reliance. Well, what happens when all of a sudden self-reliance isn't enough anymore? We have no support structure anymore. People don't have that behind them to be able to help them remain stable. And this is one of those things, and that's one of the biggest things I see coming out of this, is that whole aspect of reaching out to your neighbors. And I've been talking about this, guys, for 2 fucking years now, about the fact that it's time for people like the Unfuckers to, from within our little family here, is to reach out to physicality, to our communities where we live, and start making connections. And if any people had actually done that, they would already have some local connections now in this situation that we're in. You'd already have local connections to other people who maybe have different talents who can help out in different ways. That's one of the things that we have to get back to. To go forward, we have to go back. I agree with Megan on this 100%. In order to go forward, we actually have to go back.
In small villages, when there was a dispute, people would go to the elders and ask for help because they had all the experience and they lived so many situations. They might have a memory of what worked and what didn't work. And that part is also forgotten from our society.
And the concept too of, for example, working in consensus. Working from consensus, which is not necessarily even the idea of like you go to the elders and then the elders tell you what you have to do, make a ruling, so to speak, like a judge. It's the fact that the elders, plural, could together come up with what would be the best solution in a consensus format. Not one person comes up with an idea and everyone votes on yay or nay, but actually discussing it until you come to an agreement between everyone.
Right.
That's lost. The art of consensus is completely lost now. And people are now trying to equate, especially younger generations, they think consensus is democracy. No, democracy is not consensus. In a consensus, everyone agrees.
They don't even understand the word democracy these days.
Well,
Sorry,
no.
Roger.
It's okay. What I was going to say, along with the elders, you had the wise men, the medicine men, the wise women, medicine women, but they had it right. You know why? Because they all took off for the hills because everybody in the village was effing crazy.
Yeah, you might be right about that. You might be right about that.
Hey, but
Oh,
isn't it interesting that there's now like language out there to both sacrifice the elderly and also like sacrifice the young people
yeah,
to get
yeah.
infected and do all this shit now? Like they can, I mean, from what I saw over the years, we had like these different generations from millennials to generation Z and what have you, right? And but it's strange that you have like that generation that literally fought and won the wars, that had the balls. Then you see like almost like a not a mirror image, but a faint mirror image from the younger generations that grown up with all the shit that we have now, and they don't want that stuff. They rather want, like, I don't know, like a fair world, right, where your skills count and not what degree from what fancy university and shit you have. Like those young people, they don't want to go to the universities. They rather want to have skills they can do stuff with, right? And it's so strange that they're just targeting with the language these two generations specifically.
May I? Fred online.
Hi, Fred.
Hi. Hi, Roger. Hi, loves. I'm going to try to keep it short because if I start it, I'll take another hour. What I'm going to try to do when we get together is just share what I feel is like something we should get on now in the now future, not like midterm, like now, because of what I see in my country. My country is on the numbers, looks like, we've got very few cases. It's complete bullshit. They're also practicing the don't test, don't tell. So what I'm seeing here is the medical system is already crashing even before it is filled with patients. It's crashing by its own stupidity, but it's crashing. Why? No point in explaining. What I see, things I would not have expected. I'm calling on all the unfuckers because this is going to happen everywhere. All the unfuckers who have knowledge in midwifing. Pregnant women are the first affected. They're being turned away right now in my country from hospitals because they're fucking crashing by not testing people. So they end up with a whole infected hospital because they put up people, did not test them, put them in ICU, and they got nurses down, doctors are down or quarantined. It's completely crazy. So pregnant women will be one of the first thing I see, that anybody that has midwife knowledge, the ones of you that are in areas that are not yet very affected, get ready and call on them. Get ready for this, because there will be a lot of women that will need help, and they will be turned away to give birth at home. So we need to get organized. We're a great group for that.
Well,
that's one of the things
okay.
we can do.
Fred, on that point, remind me, send me a message on Messenger to go with the article with. I will put my childbirth papers in. I've already sent them out to several pregnant unfuckers. Like, at the moment, I have several childbirth manuals that were written for people like in an emergency. This is what you do. And I will post the PDFs with this show in an article so that anyone can have them. But please remind me, otherwise I'll forget.
I will. Okay, I'll do that in art tonight when I get on Facebook, because my Facebook works, as you know, horribly. So I try to limit, because I have to literally shut everything else down. So yeah, that, and anybody who actually knows that you don't pass out in such situations and you feel called to, crash course on helping out in case of burst, because the whole system is going to crash at some point or another. The other stuff, all the, I'll get to that, my take on it later and slowly, because Yeah, there's going to be rebellion, of course, and we can help with that too, but slowly, not now. First stage, now is the first stage. People are not ready for that. They're still busy being scared. We'll get to that stage and we'll talk about it. But right now, be prepared to, like Danny said, help people around you. There's vulnerable people who are not only the elderly, they're the immunocompromised people. They are self-isolating already. We can help those of us who can. Let's do simple things and ask them around. Not everybody lives in house with a yard. I'm saying that for my American friends because most of us in Europe do live in apartments, and it makes it worse. There's nothing worse than that, and the distancing is crazy because same shit. Nobody knows their neighbors or very little. So just organize from your building up. There's going to be shit with the food supply, not as in scarcity yet, but as in they're dealing with this like idiots. And I see it. I see it, and it will be great in the long run because it will bring out the fact that corporations are useless. But for
And
the
so are
moment,
politicians.
oh yeah, that they are so completely stupid in their declarations right now, all of them, except maybe a few small countries that I haven't seen yet. Uh, Forget, it will be self-evident for most people very fast. But what I'm saying right now is for those of you who are in apartments and are dependent on getting your food from your local whatever, because most of us now are confined. We are here, and there's actually army in the streets. So just get what you need as long as you need it, and get a little bit more if you finances allow, because what I can see is not a supply problem yet. It's a stupidity problem. They're still stocking up on fucking ketchup and stuff nobody buys, but there's
Toilet
whole
paper.
rows. Yeah, right. And there's whole rows of empty shelves. And I actually asked, all my stores here are all my neighborhood stores are all corporation stores. They're all smaller outlets of corporation supermarkets. And I went and walked in every one of them and asked the manager, if I bring you a list, if I get everybody on this street in this neighborhood to bring you a list of what we kind of weekly buy, will you order that? And they all looked at me and said, no, we can't do that because we don't get to make the orders. We just get merchandise. We can't order specifically. We just get what we get, and that's that.
Head office does it for them.
Yes, exactly. That will be a problem. So, and in the long run, it will be good. In the short term, get your stuff, get what you need. In the long run, it will be great because as unfuckers, we'll all be talking about it on our walls separately, and people will realize that it's completely stupid, but we're not, slowly, step by step. So take care of that. Take care of, I don't even know what to say. I had like 100, no matter how much you prepare, you will miss out some things. It's impossible not to. And I've been really, honestly, I didn't talk about it here, but I've been preparing for 2 months emotionally in my head in case it happens, because I had a huge hunch that this time it would. Irrelevant if it's a hoax or not. I'm acting as if it's real because I don't want to put vulnerable people at risk by my behavior.
Yeah, because that's responsible. That's the responsible thing to do.
Right. For the moment, if it's a hoax, believe me, we will know within the next 4 weeks. We will know. Because by then, we will either know people who are infected or not. Because the numbers will be so huge, the announced numbers, that inevitably we will be in that stage that we know people. So it's as simple as that. We can't tell yet if it's a hoax or not. It's simply too early.
Right,
Exactly.
but once we find out it's a hoax, the information coupled with it might be the reason why all of it was hoaxed and people kept indoors. And the only reason why I can think of right now, excuse me, is because if this really is a military military op worldwide. They want people indoors because the cabal is going to use those people gathered in restaurants and football games and concerts as hostages and or, what have you, as collateral damage. Threats of the white hats come after them. They'll, do this to these people hanging out in Walmart or whatever. So they want everybody at home safe. And that's just kind of, common sense logical to me. So again, we're just going to have to see where the hell all this goes and how it plays out,
Yeah, keep your antennas out, everybody. And it's healthy. It's a healthy discussion that we all, see it through our personal perspectives. I'm not high on white hats and such. I don't really believe in them anymore. Sorry, been too long. But I'm open. Roger said it. It's his perspective. I appreciate it because I'm open to see stuff evolve in that direction.
See, better late than never.
Act accordingly.
Absolutely never.
better late than never, right? And we were talking the other day in here that we were talking the other day that people who have been gearing up for this their entire lives going, when the hell is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? I've been doing that since the day I was born, pretty much. But you become jaded when it doesn't happen, and then all of a sudden it happens, and you're like, well, shit, here it is. You really have no choice but to deal with it if you're still, incarnated in a meat suit. You have to do whatever you can to get through it because you've been training your entire life for all the shit that's coming down right now, people. You've been training your entire lives for this moment.
And this is the thing. So it comes back to it, and I tried to talk about this on Sunday. We can't change it right now. You may not like the quarantine. You may not agree with the lockdown. You may think it's all a bunch of bullshit. But you can't change it. Well, sorry, you can. You can go out on the streets, you can open your business, and you can do that, but you're going to get slapped. You're going to get arrested, you're going to get slapped, etc. You right now can't change what's happening. So to get angry about it, to rail against it and spend all of your emotional energy going, bah! It's not going to help you. It's not going to help you. But doesn't mean that you're not putting all those facts back into the back of your head, collecting up all the evidence of what's going on. Put your energy towards the positive, the stuff that is going to actually help you. The difference is you can actually make, i.e. being prepared, which we've been talking about nonstop for 2 fucking years, on what you can do for your community, how you can help within your community. How can your community help you if you get to a point where you need that help? These are the things that we actively can do, and I think it's really important that everyone take a moment, stop what they're doing, sit back, and go, okay, this is what I've done today. Did this in any way, shape, and form actually help me or anyone else? What could I be doing that is helpful to me, helpful to my family, helpful to my community around me, and make me actually feel useful, better, put me in a better frame of mind? Because if all we're doing right now while we're stuck inside is hammering on a keyboard, sharing videos about the cabal and the fucking, they want to kill us all and they want to do this and they're going to do that. If that's all you're doing with your day, what kind of mindset are you in?
What that does is if you get caught up in worrying about things or get like wound up over things you literally cannot change or do anything about, you are literally choosing misery for yourself.
Exactly.
Guys, I agree with you definitely, but also on one other perspective. We all have now a downtime. We can't go out, we can't do shit, right? So, but on the other hand, like if 2 weeks or a month goes by, it turns out to be a hoax. Well, on one level, it would be very, very handy to have people taught all these things or brought them up to speed. So because if they really want to make a takeover, that we have as many angry people as possible to call them out for what is going on. You know what I mean?
Yes, but you're making a choice. Are you going to be Alex Jones? Lose your shit, scream, yell, smash furniture, cry, freak out?
Oh,
Or
of course not.
Are you going to be rational and explain things from a way and a perspective in chunks that people can swallow? And the reality of it is that takes an hour a day, 2 hours a day. You want to put aside, like, I'm going to use this time to wake up people, write great articles.
Yeah, I get you. Don't waste all the time on it, right?
What we do with our time, I'm not saying don't research. I'm not saying don't help people understand what's going on. What I'm saying is, where is it coming from? What place are you coming from when you're doing this, and how are you feeling about it? Because here's
also
the
know
thing.
when to stop, because like
yes, and know when to
research,
stop.
You can research, but if you research to the point where you're getting worked up about it, that's when it's
Exactly.
time to stop.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's what happened to me yesterday when I read the fucking bill and I saw all the bullshit. I mean, I literally went into meltdown mode. I had to go lay down. So, but I had to kind of work through that because Maurice was pointing out a bunch of shit, you know.
But that's the way to do it, because now you've informed yourself. You've informed yourself what's in that bill, and you're going, oh my God. And you, like I said, you've got those little side notes now. You've created those side notes in 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, whatever. When shit either goes one way or the other, you can now go back and go to everyone, can I direct your attention to this, 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 and this? But it's how. It's how we do it. And we all have our moments when our heads blow off and we lose our fucking shit because of something that's been posted, a piece of information. We lose the fucking plot. But it's how long do you stay in that place, and do you allow yourself to pull yourself back? There are people, and there's a lot of people who I know who are letting themselves stay in that place day after day after day, and you watch them post. I'm watching them posting on social media, and they are in that place of pandemic, fear, anger, spiral, hatred, etc. And they never leave that place.
Yeah.
They're not helping themselves. They're not helping anyone else.
See,
for example, like for me the other day, or actually 2 days ago, I was going down the whole like adrenochrome, frazzle drip, all that kind of like awful, like our Podesta collection and all those awful things. And I was getting worked up. And I just had to stop myself. I was like, I need to stop. I pulled away and I was like, I need to do a 21-minute meditation to just like clear myself and then just do something else.
Just do something else.
Exactly. Not let it eat you up, right?
Let me add to that. Just let's make something very, not for us in this Zoom call, for everybody listening later on YouTube, listening to this. Emergency law or martial law is the fucking same thing. Yep. Deal with it. We are under martial law. Deal with it. Stop ranting about it. Read. Don did a good thing, because do go and read what your country or county or region has addicted, so you don't end up doing something stupid, because you need to be, not arrested, but working and doing the stuff that you're going to have to do out of home. And there's a lot we're going to do. So let's just get over that subject, of fucking martial law. For those of you who were around, I mean, Jade Helm, come on, Jade Helm never happened. It was just a piece of shit. There's no invasion coming per se. But again, emergency law is martial law. It's the same thing, different words. They can do what they want. They can grab what they want. This is reality now. Deal with it. Get over it. We're still here. We're still gathering.
Move forward
and
with it.
Move on. Exactly. Move on. Stop researching, bitching about it. It is what it is. We are dealing with it. We're all dealing with it. We're in a call right now. dealing with it, getting solutions, working around, you know, but do get to know whatever your region has put up, because in these situations, it can get regional sometimes. You know, it can be a country level. Over here, we have the army in the streets. At the end of my boulevard, I have fucking tanks. Okay, I'm emotionally ready for this. I was emotionally ready. It's still shitty. It still unsettles me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, you know, I'm not an insensitive bitch. Believe me, it's extremely unsettling. But I'm still going to go out and buy some food and just grab some fresh air because I don't have a yard. I live in a cell called an apartment. But, you know, okay. And I will see these people and I'm not going to spit on them because they didn't ask to be there either. They're just, you know, they were just put out there, told to check people or whatever. I don't even have valid IDs. Technically, I shouldn't leave home. I'm gonna. But, you know, again, just whatever you do, especially if you intend to be defiant, do it smartly. Don't just be defiant for the heck of it, because you're going to end up doing something very stupid.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. This whole thing of people are, I see it here, and I've seen it, young people here commenting, this is all bullshit. I'm going out with my mates anyways. Go right ahead if you want to make that choice. But if you've got family and you've got friends, etc., are you thinking about them? Are you thinking about what could be going on? You make your choices, but seriously, like think about the choices that you make. What can you choose? What is logical and what's illogical? You want to go fight against one person, go up and like kick the tank on the end of Brianna's Strait? Okay, it's not going to make any difference, and then you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of that. Do with what we can with what we can do.
You know what? Here in South Dakota, really quick, right here in the upper Midwest, in the middle of the country, it's very slow on the uptake of everything going on all the way around us. And the governor, I heard last night from a housemaid that the governor is just now talking to the actual town councils and things of that sort about actually closing down the restaurants, the bars, and things of that sort. Okay, so things are trickling into this state. So this is going to last a while, in my humble opinion. It's, I don't know. All we can do is hunker down, be there for one another, and get through this the best we can, and not freak the hell out.
Yep, and you know, do something. Pick something positive to do. Pick something positive. I'm lucky. I have a house, so I've got a garden, and I'm out there planting seeds and digging in the dirt. But even if you're in an apartment, pick something positive to do. Find something. I don't know. Whatever. Just learn something.
I'm going to take it one step. I'm going to take it one step further. Okay, there could be something positive to do, you know, and productive and nice, but also, like, literally, like, if you need to, after watch silly cat videos, watch trash reality TV, like, play a fucking video game. You know what I mean? Just just to get out of that.
Yep.
Even if it's not productive. Like,
yes, it doesn't have to be productive. It doesn't have, when you're trapped at home 24 hours a day, it doesn't always have to be productive. You can go back and watch, I don't know, reruns of Tom and Jerry for 12 hours if you want to, if that's what turns your crank. Now my dogs are all going nuts because the family's just come home. Guys, I'm going to have to, we're 7 minutes over, and I'm going to have to let you go because I have dancing dogs all over the place who are now telling me it's dinner time, and I have to cook for my family too. So I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. We're going to try and organize another one of these again for maybe Sunday, if that works for everyone. Shh, guys.
Hey, and I want to say that I'm going to offer up my Zoom if y'all want to do a 24-hour deal or work.
Exactly. We talked about this on Sunday. There's a lot of unfuckers who've got pro Zoom accounts. Put them out there. If you've got some time on your hand, fucking fire up the Zoom, throw it out into the Unfuckers group, and I'll jump in if I can, and you know, we'll go from there. But communication, just even if it's just hanging out for a couple of hours, just to shoot the shit about nothing, at least we'll feel less isolated. Okay, guys, I'm gonna let you go because the noise in my kitchen just rose up exponentially.
Really quick, Danny, for the one coming up this next Sunday, is it going to be the same time?
It'll be 3 o'clock. Yes, it'll be the same time as today. All shows from now on will be the same time as we started today, which was no, because Sunday will be an hour difference because we do the daylight savings time on Saturday night. So you'll be an hour earlier. An hour earlier.
Talking about keeping you on your toes, man. Especially
Yeah,
with
so everyone's gonna have
time.
to just try. Just go to bed early that night. Okay, guys, I'm gonna say goodnight to you because the noise is way too loud. I will talk to you all later. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
One